I start off with being honest? There was a time when I was set in my ways that open houses didn't work. I'd spend my weekends setting up signs, smiling at strangers, and walking away with absolutely nothing. No leads, no clients, no future opportunities, and I was so frustrated. I literally stomped my feet at one point and said, open houses don't work. Today, our team hosts 500 open houses a year. For us, it generates $500,000 in gross commission. So how did we go from absolutely nothing to $500,000 a year in GCI? How did we decide to go from no results to actually making this a pillar in our business? If you stick around, I'll tell you exactly how we got that done. My name's Jordan Davis, and I have the opportunity every morning to wake up and lead these amazing humans out of Dallas-Fort Worth that we call the Davis team. And just like our moderator explained, our team closes about 250 units every single year, year over year. And honestly, by the grace of God and through my clumsy leadership, we're able to maintain that. But it wasn't always this way. In fact, there was a point where we were struggling as a team. I had had some luck in real estate and brought my husband in the business. I don't know if any of you are like that. He's not in the business anymore with me. But he had left a multi-six-figure income in order to come join us. And we had a lot of opportunity. We had a lot of hustle, but we didn't really have processes and procedures. So with the very little income that we had, we actually decided to make the investment of hiring a coach. Which was a gamble, right? Like we had very little left and we were like, you know what I think we need to do is we need to hire a coach. That coach encouraged us to pick a lead gen source that we were gonna nail. And we picked open houses because they're free. So when I was digging in with my coach and trying to figure out how we were gonna do this, we had a questioning system. And the reality was I hosted open houses sometimes. I put out signs sometimes, and I followed up with those leads, you guessed it, sometimes, and I had zero results all the time. So we decided to dig what we called a 1,000-foot well. And I don't know about you, but living in Texas and in the country, we deal a lot with wells. And if you know anything about a well, if you go 10 feet deep, you're not gonna get consistent results, right? Even at 100 feet, you'd be lucky to get consistent results. You had to go 1,000 feet to produce consistent results. So what did that look like to take a lead gen lever and dig a 1,000-foot well? Well, I'll tell you, in that year, our 4-person team hosted 300 open houses. But more importantly, we created a system that allowed us to have a lead gen lever that produced predictable and duplicatable results. Here's the thing about hosting 500 open houses in a year. You have to get really structured about the way that you do it. Do you know why I know? Because we made a lot of mistakes. Well, there was that time that we forgot to tell a seller we were doing an open house, and we walked in on him in his underwear. There were those times when the seller would call the listing agent asking for feedback, and we looked really dumb because that wasn't the agent at the open house. And there was the time that 2 agents scheduled the same open house at the same time on the same day. So we had to get really, really good at systems. So here's my system that I want to break down for you guys. It starts long before the open house. In fact, it starts at the listing appointment. If you're going to hold so many open houses, you've got to set expectations with your sellers. According to the National Association of Realtors, 7% of homes sell from open houses. However, we know because we track that 15% of our homes sell from a guest that came to the open house. Did we represent them? Maybe not. But maybe their agent was out of town or they hadn't contacted one yet and they came by our open house and it caused them to want to make an offer on the home. So do you think if I'm sitting across the table from a seller and I tell them that 15% of our homes sell from open house guests, that they'd be more willing to have strangers roam around their home? Yeah, so knowing your data is a huge proponent of setting yourself up for success in order to have open houses. 3 things set us apart when it comes to open houses to get those results. The first is that we do them correctly, and we track our results. I hear some giggles on do them because I think we've all sat across from sellers that say open houses are only a form of lead generation for the agent. They're only ways for you to get buyers. And we let them know that our first goal in our open house is to sell your home, first and foremost. And if for some reason your home absolutely without a shadow of a doubt won't work for that buyer, at that point, we're gonna sell ourselves. So that's the deal we make with our sellers to get them to allow us and want us to work these open houses. The second step is prep. So for our organization, running 500 a year, that's 10 to 12 a week most of the time because obviously you've got holidays in there. Our admin, who is our listing coordinator, first starts by putting all the new listings and all the price reductions that are going to come this week on our open house board. So on Monday, she updates that board. On Tuesday morning, when we meet for our team meeting, our agents actually draft open houses. What does that look like? What's a draft? First and foremost, I go based on production. I want my best agents working the best open houses. I want them to earn the right to have the great open houses. And so it's going to go based on production and closed units and just down the line. So we have a list out of all the agents, and they go tap the shoulder of the next agent when it's time for them to draft for their open houses. Then our admin takes that information that's updated on our whiteboard of what agent signed up for what open house, and they get seller approval, so we don't have any sellers in their underwear. And then they also put it in MLS. This is something that we do that I feel like sets us apart. No listing goes live and no price reduction goes in MLS without an open house paired with it. Why are you missing that incredible marketing opportunity to drive people who are looking online to getting them to be people who are arriving in person? I don't want my client's price reduction or new listing to lead to a customer clicking some random agent who knows nothing about this home. I want to drive them into our open houses so that we can answer specific questions to get them to potentially purchase the home. If not, get them to work with us. So don't miss that key marketing piece of putting your open house in before you ever change anything in MLS, so that when it syndicates to the external portals, they're gonna see your open house and they're gonna be like, I wanna attend that. On Thursday, we post to social media, of course. It's all of our personal social medias. We post on our Instagram, Facebook for the company. Our handle is @YourDavisTeam. And we post to all of the buy-sell trade websites. In Texas, we have every city has a mom's group, buy-sell trade websites. We also share it with the seller so they can post it there. We have a lot of little cities in Dallas-Fort Worth, and so we may not have access to exclusive groups that they have, and we want to make sure that they're promoting that to get their home sold and get as many buyers through. And then on Thursday is when we generate the marketing that we're going to have at our open house to put in the hands of potential buyers. So the third day, which is the third step, which is the day of course, we repost everything to social media, whether that's a Friday open house, a Saturday, a Sunday, or a Wednesday. We also put 8 signs out. That's our standard. That's our minimum. Amazon sells A-frame signs that make it so easy to put open house signs out. I don't ever want open house signs and how painful it is to try to drive tiny metal stakes into hard clay in Texas at 110 degrees to ever be a deterrent from somebody holding an open house open. So we put our signs in these A-frame and they're easy to pop out. We've also found that they don't get picked up by cities as often. So we put a minimum of 8 signs out. But we do a strategy called flocking. So what that is basically we're going to put 3 signs in a row. And our signs aren't small. They're red, and they're 24-inch by 20-inch. So they're like that, not these little open house signs. We put 3 in a row. The first gets a driver's attention. The second allows them to read it. And the third one tells them where to turn. So we do a strategy called flocking. While we're at the open house, when people get done touring, we're going to ask 3 questions. Do you have any feedback for the seller? Because remember, we committed to work to get this home sold first. Secondly, has anyone taken you through the home buying process? I don't ask, do you have an agent? I ask if anyone has sat with you and taken you through the home buying process. And then the third question is, if not, would you be open to meeting with me to take you through the home buying process, have a needs analysis, and then decide if it makes sense for us to work together? So I'll repeat that. Would you be open to meeting with me after this open house to go over the home buying process, have a needs analysis, and see if it makes sense for us to work together? Pro tip, if you want to be really great at open houses, bring value. Know the area, know the comparables, know what's recently sold, know the details of the home and of the neighborhood, understand the market. I gotta be honest, the first time I sat in there and Gary talked about the economic forecast, it sounded a lot like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah, 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 wah. But over the years, as I've subjected myself to hearing it more and more from different mentors, I've found that I actually understand it and can convey it to home buyers and sellers to give them the best advice. So if you're like me and you're like, what did he say? Keep subjecting yourself to that information so that you're prepared to help guide people through that market and what's going on in the market. I got a story for you. So coming out of COVID, my team decided to hold 100 open houses in 30 days. I promised them t-shirts, and they were ecstatic. And I swear realtors will do anything for a t-shirt. And so we did 100 open houses in 30 days. I was doing an open house on a Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and it was on one of our vacant listings in a new construction community. I had a guest come in, and they said they already signed a contract to build a home with the builder. No problem. In fact, I said, well, do you have a home to sell? And they said, yes, but we have an agent that we use to buy. I said, no problem. Listen, I had one guest come to that open house. I had nothing but time on my hands. And so I sat there and talked to them, and they asked what I thought would be happening during COVID. What were my plans and protocols for open houses? How I thought buyers were going to respond coming out of being in shutdown. And we had an honest, great conversation for about 45 minutes. I called them the next day and I asked for feedback for my seller, because remember, we're there to sell the home first. And he said, I don't really have feedback for you. I'm not really in that pre-existing home market, but I'm glad you called. I actually called the person I worked with before, and I've decided I don't want to hire them to sell my home, and I'd like to know if you'd sell my home, because nobody has ever sat with me and given me as much information as you have. So just bringing value, even if it's not a potential client, education to the market, education to our industry is phenomenal. The other strategy that I want to talk to you about is called double lead gen. And that means that there's no such thing as a bad open house. You either have an open house where a ton of people show up and you get to have face-to-face connects with them, or you have a quiet place to do your lead generation. There's absolutely no reason in 2 hours, 3 hours, not to make 10 connections with people regarding real estate. If you have your phone, you have a database. You have people who came to the open house previous weeks. You have Facebook Messenger where you can contact your friends. You can do a video tour of that home and see who interacts with it and have conversations with them. Or our agents bring their computers and they actually pawn dive in our leads ponds for who's been on our website recently while they sit near a front window and see if anybody's going to come in. So you're either going to meet people or talk to people that come in the door, or you're going to make it a point to make your connects in a quiet area while at the open house. We call that double lead gen. My fourth step is to call, text, and then email other available listings that are around that area within 10% of the price of that home. If you have an inside sales agent like we do, I highly recommend you choose quality over quantity. So pick the 1 or 2 people that came in that you felt like you made the best connection with and keep them. If you have the opportunity to have an inside sales agent, ask them to call the rest of the leads and stay in touch with them so you can focus on those quality. The numbers don't lie. Here's our results. For every 10 guests that come through our open house, we secure 1 appointment on average, our entire team's average. For every 2 appointments, it ends in a closing. So basically, every 20 guests should result in a closing. Well, you got 2 options. You can hold more open houses, or you can figure out a way to drive more guests through, right? Also, business multiplies. So today's open house guest may be 30 days from now's closing, which is phenomenal, but it also may be next year's past client referral. And then that person might refer you or do repeat business with you. So that's the thing. Open houses are brilliant because they may be business today, and they're also business 3 years from now. So you're investing in your business and your career. So if you're serious and you'd like to dig a 1,000-foot well like me, you can find my, in the MREA one-pagers, if you search my name off Connect through Command, Jordan Davis. You can find our one-pager playbook. But my tips, if you're serious about digging a 1,000-foot well, first of all, hire a coach or a mentor. Get someone to hold you accountable and help you create a system. Commit to that system, like really commit to it. And execute without wavering. No excuses. Track your data and see what your results are, at least for 6 months. And then at that time, earn the opportunity to make adjustments. Don't hold 1 open house and decide you're going to kick it to the curb. Make a commitment of what you're going to do. Because open houses actually work when you work them.